appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
This should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
I did hear that they were coming through necessary media.
Because it's necessary. Necessary media. Media. Because it's necessary.
Yes, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, I am back again. Your host and friend, Michael DeOliveira, ushering in the necessary era every Wednesday here live on Comcast Channel 95. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. And put it right there. I'm gonna put this thing right here, okay? So make sure you click that subscription button. We are getting the subscribers up, we're getting the views up. It's been the last couple good weeks when I've been pushing a couple of the shows, so I'm gonna try to get out and do that as much as possible. The special editions, ladies and gentlemen, if you're tuning in again at home, I do appreciate it. Make sure you tell your friends, your neighbors, your uncles, everybody. Get everybody on board. But if you're one of the people watching this on YouTube, or if you're familiar with the YouTube show, again, I'm going to try to get back on top of making the special editions. They take a lot of work. It's kind of a one-man editing team right now, so we're going to see what we can do. But, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into this show. It's going to be a little bit more of an easy-going show, so I do want to make sure I let everybody know out there know. If you want to call in, feel free to call in. The number's 508-730-3222, as you can see. 508-730-3222. Feel free to call in, join the conversation. A couple things I wanted to go over in today's show. One of the biggest things I've seen pushed around, through either whatever media outlets, news and social media, is it's not the new big thing. It's been a continuing trend that's been going on with it's kind of started with the voting in, the swearing in of the new mayor, our mayor, Jazel Correa. It's one of the things that started along those lines. Even with the vote, some would say, to have him put in, is the revitalization or a newer look at Fall River. So one of the new things that he's been pushing right away since he went in, and we're going to get into a little bit something on that later, is called the Streetscapes program, where we're trying to, or initiative, I'll say, terminology here, but the initiative on trying to redevelop certain areas in the city, try to beautify them is one of the famous phrases that we use all the time. We're going to beautify the area, and we're going to throw around a lot of keywords and phrases on these shows, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, if you haven't noticed by now, there's certain words that get thrown around all the time. And one of the ones that are the new phrase going around is rebranding. We're going to rebrand Fall River, okay? Now, I've talked about this before. I've had, I believe I think it was my second guest on the show. I had City Councilor Rich Cabaceras, which is also another topic we're going to get into on this show, so make sure to stay tuned for that. He's going to be a part of that conversation. But when we had him on the show before, we've talked about how the city, we had just had a new promotional video made of this city, okay? And I guess it was for business purposes. So it was a new marketing video for Fall River. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at the time I had said, I watched the video. I still hold true to my belief on this video. If you haven't watched it, it's out there somewhere to watch. And unless you're probably like, a business person looking to actually just create a facility, I see nothing from this video. I saw nothing that inspired me to I live here, and there was nothing about that video that inspired me. But again, I admitted at the time, and I'll admit now, that was more of a business-oriented video. But the whole emphasis was rebranding and remarketing Fall River. So we're continuing down that trend. And with that, we had the unveiling of a new, I believe it would be a committee, but we got just a new assembly of people. That's another thing that's been happening lately, for good or bad. I'm not even sure on this one, but for good or bad, we've had these assemblings of groups and committees in Fall River. I feel like every new thing that needs to happen or wants to happen has a committee formed for it. So in line with that, we have this new committee developed to rebrand Fall River. Now, I'm gonna have a visual aid for this one, folks. Okay, give me 1 second. This is what we've been hearing about this. Now, this pad hasn't come out for a while. I'm gonna probably put something here. Shout out to any of the sponsors. We'll buy some ad space. I'll put that on the YouTube channel for you. We'll fill that up. But I'm gonna create a visual for you of how this has been worded for me. So we're gonna have a graph, okay? We're gonna call this my graph, and I'm gonna take, let's see here, take my information deliverer, is what this is. Visual information deliverer. I'm gonna see if I can do this justice. Now, here we have a blank piece of paper, okay? But we're gonna make forever in the eyes of what I hear from everybody, okay? So we're gonna go something like this, right? And then if I'm gonna try to do this as best I can, it's something like this, and something like this, I think. Maybe something like this, and this comes around, and you go like that, and you got this there, something like this, right? Something like this, and then you go like that, right? Something like that. And just like this. Something like that, right? But to make sure you know what this is, in case you didn't know, you gotta do one of these at the end, right? Make sense? Okay, something like that. We've had this city called by many to be a pig, okay? I don't use such terminology. I grew up here, I live here. I know the goods and the bad, but this is what we see, right? Now here's what, so you ever see you remember the commercials, this is your brain on drugs? So this is how many people see Fall River, and this is how many people see Fall River with Streetscapes, these new initiatives, new committees, new everything. To some people, okay? This is how some people see it. You ready? You take this, right? See right here? You go like that, like this, right? And you go like this. It's a nice shade of red, right? Hot red. Something like that, right? Lipstick, pig, get it? See what I did there? I mean, that's just one example. I mean, we could take this though, because that's only one initiative. I mean, one initiative, we have a committee for the lipstick. So there's the lipstick committee. They do their job. Then, you can't stop there because there's other people who do other things in the city, and they say, well, hey, I'm gonna get in on an initiative too. If those guys get an initiative, I'm getting on the initiative, I'm gonna get a committee. We're all gonna do this. So then they take maybe a little bit of this here, something like that. And now everybody likes to do this with their eyebrows. They put their eyebrows in like that, right? This thing is looking good. This city is looking sexy right there, am I right? We hooked it up. We rebranded this thing. So some people might have called it that, but then after all these renovations, right, now it's just beautiful. Something like that. Again, visual aids, folks, I don't know. Okay? Now, that's what happens, and that's the grand consensus of a lot of people I've talked to is that's how they see a lot of this. Now, I'm going to try to play middleman here and do my best because this is how I see it. Again, I don't need this stuff no more. Don't need it. How I see that. Sweep down off the floor. How I see this, again, you got to play middleman on this. We're caught in the middle of a crossroads here where we have the old way, the old guard of Fall River. Nothing's changed, right? Nothing's changed for so long, so people were getting aggravated at that, so they want change. They want change, they demand change, and now change is presented to them. But now at the same time, again, if we're gonna be in the middle, a lot of these changes are gonna cost money, okay? Nothing's for free, and if you think that, you're a fool. You'll learn the hard way eventually when your bill comes in whatever form it comes, but nothing is for free. So with all these dreams of how we're gonna change it, comes with a bill. Now I'm going to key in on something here, and again, if you want to chime in on any of this topic in any way, shape, or form, feel free to call the number that you see below, 508-730-3222. Now, with this grand scheme of how we're going to put all that lipstick on that pig, right, costs money, it comes with a bill. Now, something that I've just heard, I'm going to admit right now, as happened to me last time, I caught last week's city council meeting. I didn't catch this past, just 2 days ago, Monday, I had a special council meeting. I did not catch that one. I got to re-up on that. So, but what I had heard is there was conversations about how we're going to address the funding for this this initiative, okay, to take care of some things here. And my understanding on this, and if anybody out there who's watching, if you're a counselor, you want to call in to correct or give your opinion, feel free to do so. Which I got news on next week's show, by the way. Next week we got a counselor coming in as a guest. It's a pretty good one. Should be a pretty good show, so I'll let you know that at the end of the show, so stay tuned. What I heard was at this meeting, we had a situation where it was discussed very openly and put out very openly by the public that, to the public, that the way this is going to be worked, the bill for this bill that's going to cover all the lipstick, all the makeup, all the foundation, all that stuff, right? We're going to put a new face on this pig. The cost for this is going to be divided up in a way so that when it's bonded for, because we don't have cash for this, everybody knows that, right? There's no pockets. You got lint and dust, okay? And maybe like a jelly bean and a penny. But there's no money to pay for this, so we're going to have to take out a loan for this. We're going to bond for it. And the bonds are being done up in a way so that the sum of each, because instead of getting one lump sum to take care of the whole thing, no, we're going to stomp on that thing, break it up, crack it up, and we're going to make it into a bunch of little versions of the bonds that conveniently slip under the amount, the maximum amount, or minimum, I should say, around the minimum maximum amount where it would take a vote from the public. So what they're doing is conveniently, just coincidence, quiddinky-dinks. I love quiddinky-dinks, everybody out there. I love them. It's just a quiddinky-dink that these the bond portions for the bond, the amounts to them, are going to be conveniently under a certain amount so that they avoid a public vote. They avoid having to be put to the public to make a decision on if we want this or not. Now, if you remember right, let me kind of tie this in with something a little bit. In this past election that we had, there was a voter, an opinion vote. There was nothing more to it. It was it didn't initialize anything, but there was the vote to just see what the public's opinion on was the transfer stations, a waste transfer station, I believe, and the public voted for it. Where they were. I wasn't myself. I didn't. It's not my thing, so I don't have enough knowledge on that to say where I stood on that either or. To be honest, I think I left that one blank. Left it up to people who were more in on that than me. But the public as a whole actually voted for the thing. That's gone away as far as any discussion on that, but they voted for it. So if someone then at some point would have wanted to justify costs for it, the public's already put their name to a vote, and they've cast that they wanted the thing. So that makes sense. Now in this situation, if we have all these little separate sections of the city being intended on being redone, worked up, make up all over the place, right? We have these certain sections of the city that are going to get the funds to do this. The public's input is now being avoided on it in lieu of just hierarchy speaking down and then it being put through the budget, and then that's it. We're going to get it. We're going to pay for it in taxes. Now again, if you're for it, that's great. If you're not for it, you're going to be aggravated by that. But the thing to remember too on this that's most important is when you talk about re-beautifying Fall River, you have to understand that there's going to be sections that are going to get this. There's going to be certain people that are going to get this. So there's going to be sections of people in general who are going to benefit from this, while others are not. So you're talking about, as far as a whole city, this is not an initiative to cover the whole city, one end to the other, okay? This isn't going to be some big thing that changes us forever. Its intent is to change areas forever, technically forever, but soon. And then that will bring in more individuals to the area, check it out, and you can start spreading, goodness and wealth from there on. This being said, it's important to key in on little changes in who's getting what, where it's happening. Because again, these areas are going to get it, not everybody. So the areas that are going to benefit, obviously, you're going to have their interests are high on this. So when you break it up into these little amounts, you lose the ability for the grand public to put their 2 cents on it. Now that's going to get into side subject, which I'm not going to do right now, but that gets into your voting base, okay? That gets into the people who we actually get out there to vote when come election time. So everybody out there, if you vote, if you're paying attention to the show, you probably at least vote at least once or twice. You probably don't. So try to get everybody else out there as well. What's this? Oh, my interns, ladies and gentlemen, passed me. Now, intern, though, are we on the right mic? Okay, I'm getting head on from Jake. Jake's doing a good job, ladies and gentlemen, today. Now, I also wanted to say, I got a memo. All right, Jake, I'm getting the thumbs up from Jake. I got the memo earlier. I'm just having some interns work on this. Next week, we got something presidential next week. So, again, I'll let you know later on the other end of the show. So stay tuned for that. But, again, with the Streetscapes situation, with the rebranding. If the whole plan on rebranding, right? Let me get into the argument with the makeup on the pig. The whole argument with the rebranding is that all we're in essence doing is we're trying to highlight these portions or subjects of the city, little, whatever they are, little rinky-dink things in this area, in the grand scheme of the state. I'm just gonna be blunt, okay? I'll put it to you like that. You can take it as negative or positive, all you want. When you look at the grand scheme of things of the state and just nearby, things that we have nearby, where if I as a resident of Fall River, I'm going to spend my money, when I start thinking of where I'm going to spend money, a lot of the stuff in Fall River, as personal as it might be, unless I know the person personally, it's going to be, it's nothing that's sticking out to me where I want to spend money. I most likely am going somewhere else. Now, we're going to bring some of that stuff here. That's the plan. So we're going to bring the things that I might leave the city for here to Fall River. Okay, that I'm all for. But now, let's add on top of that, again, this whole pig conversation where everybody looks at the area as a pig. If you're going to just put these little things in the city to make little areas of the city feel better, okay? Make it like, it's like giving a pat on the back. Look, guys, we got you something. But the grand overall issues with the city have not been fixed. Not only are you not actually fixing the branding of Fall River, all you're most likely doing is now actually growing who's gonna really see what the problems are. That's one. So you want more eyes on it? Okay, let's say we get more eyes. So we get more eyes and ears to pay attention to Fall River. Now, once they get past that promotional marketing tool that you sold somebody so good, you gave them that coupon or that email that said, hey, come on down, check it out, there's a deal, right? You get them down. They still got to come down here and now actually see what's going on. So great, you got it here. Now what? Now we still got the problems that we have. The same problems that people have been complaining about forever. So now guess where I have to be on the fence of this. We need to have these new things and new improvements to help with the image of Fall River, both mentally and visually, you know what I mean? Like actually sell to people what we can show them, what we can showcase, and then start to change the hearts and minds of men of the city and around. Do we need that? Yes. But the only way, so you're gonna get all the younger, like visionary viewers to be like, wow, that's great, let's do this, right? Those people, for the most part, haven't been here long enough to be paying in long enough to be aggravated by the frustrations of not having certain things fixed that are more important to them. Okay, they've been paying in longer. They have the pain. They feel the cuts. The younger generation you want to have new hope for and bring new visions to make the city better, they haven't felt that pain as much. They're just starting to. And believe me, the longer if they start to actually feel this, their minds will change and waver as well. But you have to try to win both of them. How are we going to get the grand people of Fall River to really feel like there's some change going on? Now, I'm going to give credit to, I was checking out some of the stuff earlier this week, because again, I missed the show. I missed Monday City. For me, it's a show. For a lot of people out there, it's entertaining. So I missed the show Monday with the city council, the special city council meeting. So I was tuning into different things and reading different things. And I did hear, and we give full credit to Chip Kamara from on Spindle City Straight Talk, when I was watching their show today, and they were talking about this. And you know, some of the fundamental things and how he was bringing it about is the same page I stand with this, where if you have the same fundamental issues that people have been complaining for so long here, where, you know, you got the poverty. So you're gonna have a certain amount of poverty. Well, we gotta bring in jobs to change the poverty. It's worse than that, though. It's worse than that. I've been having this argument with people for so long. It's worse than just bringing jobs here and you're gonna change the poverty, because the argument, and I guess this would be counter to what I just said, saying, you know, sticking up for what some other people say, but again, when you have the old with the new views of the city, you want jobs, you want to bring the jobs in, some people, that's going to cure everything. Now we have the question of, well, who's going to get these new jobs that come to Fall River? So let's use Amazon, which I also want to get into this whole redevelopment of Fall River. Let's get into the actual Fall River Office of Economic Development. We get into the whole Chamber of Commerce deal with Rob Million. We get into this whole thing, again, of entities and people who have been in the city using their committees, using their influence, using their connections, using all the tools at their hands, at their beck and call. And so far, nothing really has changed to make any dramatic change. If anything, every year I just hear worse and worse. And I'm one of these people who've grown up here, who try to highlight the positives while being realistic. But if you talk to like younger people, unless they're part of the fully, you know, no matter what, optimistic crowd, they don't have high hopes either. A lot of them will call the city. You get younger people you talk to, a lot of them will have already a negative spin on it, and you have to kind of waver around that and talk up about things and be realistic if you want to change these minds. But they're coming from it because that's what they're used to hearing. So when you say you're going to get jobs here, and that's going to magically change anything, you brought the job, you brought the actual infrastructure of whatever set company here. Now what about the individuals? So now we get into, well, you're going to hire Fall River people? That's not even necessary. That's not even necessarily an issue that the city's supposed to take care of. That's why I said this is such a grand problem. You're not going to fix this with something like Streetscapes. This is, instead of focusing, I guess, here's my opinion. I guess I'm figuring it out as I'm explaining it to you. Where my opinion lies on this is, instead of actually getting together and focusing on how we're going to develop this new part of the city to, be re-beautified, if anything, I probably think sole focus literally on this city should be 100% on the things that I've had Alan Sylvia has mentioned before. I don't know for sure what he's doing about it at the state level, but what he's mentioned, what everybody else I talk to, everybody's pretty much sick and tired with the disproportionate amount of lower income individuals who then need subsidies, state subsidies, federal subsidies, being hoarded off to Fall River and areas alike. But we're talking about Fall River here, folks. That's where I'm here to discuss. When we talk about these people being hoarded off to Fall River, so okay, so you have now a whole stable full of poverty, and you're gonna bring in a job and say, look guys, we brought you work. This too much, like, they're too used to this now. It's too late on that. Then you bring them in, they're not even capable of getting some of these jobs. So the argument about just bringing work in is gonna just uplift everything isn't true either. There's a underlying issue here. The only way to get to the underlying issue is, as I just said with the poverty, the people with impoverished individuals coming in, being hoarded in, that floodgate needs to be shut down completely. Period. No more. You cannot. We're already at max capacity, folks. There's no going back at this point. Then you have to start to deal with like realistic ways to handle that crowd. Is there any way to start to trickle that out? We've had it flood in. Is there any way to trickle it out? Once we can get some kind of a balance and control on the overall poverty level of what's coming in, then we can take care of what's in-house. Then we can start to, because if you've seen over the last weeks, months, year and a half or so, we're seeing, and I stay by this again, this is how I know I'm being realistic compared to some who would just either be just totally optimistic or just totally pessimistic. When you stay somewhere in the middle, realistic, we've seen in the last year and some change months, a swelling of people and a growing in the amounts of people who are just looking for, taking it upon themselves to better the city, better their attitudes, better their actual streets, their neighborhoods, and then overall it starts to go into the city. So we've had like the cleanup crews. We had the generosity is spreading like crazy, okay? These things, they spread fast on their own. So it'll take time for that to happen. But we have to stop the floodgate of what's coming in. So if we're in-house trying to fix everything, and then we have neighbors from the north, from the west, and from the south coming in with no money and no idea what's going on. And then they come in here, they bring in whatever habits and attitudes. Attitudes is what's the most important thing. They're bringing the attitude with them. Now they come in here. So you have these other local people who've actually been building themselves up, taking care of how we're going to clean up a city. But then you have people come in and who don't care. They're not from here. And if anything, they don't plan on either staying here or they don't have respect for the area because they feel they've been disrespected, and that's why they're here. Just or not, I'm saying the emotions, the feelings here. So when they come here with that vibe, you think that's going to spread out to help the city? It starts to hinder it. Now you take away from everybody else who actually is trying to help the city. Now you end up in a situation like in a class when you got like the 1 or 2 punks, 3 punks in the class who start to take away from the middle, the kids in the middle. Sure, you have the higher ends trying as much as they can. Sure, you're going to have the people in the city trying as much as they can to fix everything. But if you keep allowing and keep just not halting the growth of the people who just don't care about the area, aren't from the area, aren't going to stay in the area, they're only here because it's the cheapest place for them to be, and they'll be out as soon as they get a chance. You're not going to, you're hindering that group in the middle. Okay, the people on the fence who they want to help. I hear arguments all the time. We got that new walkway, right? What's the first thing that happened? It got spray painted, and then everybody's attitude goes. It was all, everything. Everybody was happy because we had these new areas for the neighborhood to be in, the city to be involved with, something new to promote, healthy living, great scenery, all these things. And then as soon as it gets tagged with graffiti, the whole attitude goes plummeting, and it takes everybody down around with it. That's what we have to stop. Another key importance that I heard mentioned that one of the most aggravating things I hear all the time, I grew up in the Flint. I know what the Flint was like. I know in general, how these areas are still going to be. One of the biggest things that you're going to hear from everybody, it's about crime. And I'm going to get into that. So I'm going to close the show with something to do with, for the No Flex Zone Award winner, is going to have something to do with this too, as far as police go. But police and crime in the city and things of that nature that'll also take away from this lipstick on the pig, okay? We have real things to deal with. If you don't take care of the crime in the city at an active level, what are you promoting? If the pig is surrounded by violence, in other words, so this pig's getting robbed, right? The pig's getting robbed, pig's getting stabbed, pig's getting abused, pigs coming out in the morning finding drug paraphernalia in their yard, and it's not theirs, it's not the pig's, but somebody else left their drug paraphernalia in the pig's yard. That pig is surrounded in this muck. so you can put the lipstick on it, but unless the police are coming, the police are doing what they're supposed to be doing in areas where they know there's problems, and the neighbors know there's problems, everybody knows there's problems, but we still have them, they're not shut down. How do you expect neighboring communities or business people from coming in and saying, we're gonna do anything that's gonna actually beautify the area, resurrect, rebrand, the word of the day, rebrand. How are we gonna rebrand, remarket the city if it's the same level of crime, okay? It's the same people looking down their nose at the fact that there's the amount of crime here. Whenever I have somebody on local Tiverton, nearby Tiverton, whenever something happens, it's a constant, what's going on with Fall River? Well, of course, it's Fall River. Like, it's just assumed crime. Well, if there's assumed crime, we should have an assumed attack on that. And again, the areas are known. So I don't understand the issue with that. We've yet to take care of that at a level that's enough to build confidence. Say that part again. You're never going to eradicate it, but if we take care of it enough to build confidence, then people's all around opinion will grow of their local surroundings, their neighborhood, their streets, their neighborhood, then the city, and it'll start to have an impact from within. It's like a groundswell. It'll just happen. You probably do not have to try that hard when you create an environment that can sustain this positive growth. Okay, you don't have to necessarily draw a bunch of lipstick on the pig. As long as you put the pig in a good environment, it'll usually take care of itself. So how about that? How about let's focus on that? But again, a lot of points mentioned in there. Keys that I would mention is, again, this rebranding thing. We're going to have to change it. We're going to change the name. We're going to change the marketing strategy of a city that when you peel back these outer layers and these people come with their Groupon that you gave them for why they should check out the city, they come check out the city. They check out whatever restaurant you promoted, okay, whatever local business you promoted. They're going to check that out. Then they're still going to have to drive through the city and see the rest of it. So let's take care of the actual fundamentals of the city. Now, ladies and gentlemen, speaking to that, I want to go real quick to the fan favorite No Flex Zone Award of the Week.
No flex zone. No flex zone. They know better. They know better.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, you are in the No Flex Zone, the zone where you do not belong flexing. And by flexing, I mean doing anything you're not supposed to be doing in a place you're not supposed to be doing. And this week's winner is a real easy one for me, folks. If you follow the Facebook page or the Twitter account, www.facebook.com/thenecessarymedia, there was a situation that happened on Sunday in Fall River where there was a crash. I conveniently happened to be in the area where it happened, so I was able to get on scene fast. And here's why this gets the No Flex Zone Award winner. Because when you hear what it is, it's not that you should be surprised by the overall situation, but this is my No Flex Zone Award winner of the week for how the timeline of events happened. So briefly, Sunday, around 4:30, I hear a crash. I go outside, there's a car laced up on the sidewalk into the trees and the bushes. Now, I have that moment of like, oh crap, what's going on? Let's go, make sure to help whoever could be in the situation. I get down there, there's only one other car that was behind this person. So this other car's already out helping him. I go to help this individual. We're basically going to try to make sure the driver's all right and get the driver out. Now, initially, we're seeing liquid coming out from the car. So this other citizen that we're going to help get this guy out is concerned that he thinks it's gas. So while in this brief moment, now I understand I'm not a trained expert here. So just in that brief moment of, oh crap, we got to get this guy's out. Let's save a life. Before you start to really think that's not gas. You have that instinct. So we're trying to get this guy out. No lie, this is the look I get from him. Okay. Now you're yanking. This is the look you get. Doped up. The guy crashed into the bush because he was doped up on whatever type of brand heroin, I don't care. How do I know? Because right on the front seat or the passenger seat is a needle, freshly used, with a box inside, freshly used. And when police came, which they did a great job, shout out to Fall River Police Department on this one, they came quick. When the police officer arrived, he informed me that what most likely happened was this person went to the methadone clinic, took his fix of medicine, and then took his own fix at home, or right in the car, of his own medicine, and passed out and hit a tree. Could have killed anybody there, totally not busy sidewalk. That's your No Flex Zone Award winner of the week, folks. Check out the Facebook page if you want to see more about it. Catch you next week. Peace.